I, a 28-year-old woman, just found out that my partner, a 31-year-old man of 12 years, has been sexting in online chat rooms with local men for the past 7 months. To make things worse, I am 8 months pregnant with our second child. I want to preface all of this by explaining what happened in the days leading up to this. Before this day, we had a small disagreement about parenting styles, in which he felt that I disrespected him in my communication. So he had been giving me the silent treatment for 3 days. He would not look my way or even be in the same room as me. After the 3 days of being completely shunned, I finally had enough, as this is emotionally hurtful. And we live under the same roof with our child, who is watching all of this go down. I confronted him about it and told him how immature he is behaving, and that I did not deserve this treatment or stress, especially while pregnant. This had caused me immense stress, and I had not eaten anything for the whole 3 days at this point. Due to loss of appetite from the stress and crying all day, the baby is already developing much slower than they should be for how far along I am, and I've been needing bi-weekly ultrasounds to monitor the baby's growth due to this. He is aware of all of this as he has been present during my appointments. His response to all of this was that the treatment I have been getting is justified, and he will let me know when and if he decides to speak to me again, and that I will just need to wait or leave him and move on with my life. I was in disbelief of the words coming out of his mouth and how cruelly he was treating me, because it was completely disproportionate to the small disagreement we had. My intuition was telling me that something must be up, because it seemed like he was just looking for any little reason to pick a fight with me, or possibly even just leave this relationship. A huge argument ensued, and I ended up going through his phone. I found all of the evidence on his phone. Screenshots of exchanged lewd pictures and bits and pieces of the chats that were all saved in his files. In one of the chats, one man had even given him his address, no more than a 10-minute drive away from our home. I was sick to my stomach and trembling after making the discovery. I could not breathe and had to put the phone down to steady my breath and lower my heart rate. He just kept staring at me and asking over and over, "What's wrong and what happened?" And his tone had completely changed from a condescending, argumentative shouting to an "oh shoot, what did I do" kind of tone. He had no clue that those chats were saved to his files and lost all color in his face when I confronted him and showed him what the frick I was looking at on his phone. I've never seen him look so guilty before. A huge, deafening silence before he got super defensive and denied everything multiple times. He was claiming that it was all spam, but eventually he admitted to it because the evidence was too incriminating with pictures of him and all. In front of him, I shared all of the files directly to my personal email in case he ever tried to turn this on me and gaslight me into thinking this is somehow my fault, which is his go-to move. He claimed that he was just curious and bored, but that he is most certainly not gay. How the frick can I believe that? My thing is, why would it take 7 months and multiple conversations to unalive your curiosity? Why were people giving him their address? Why were these all local men? Has he met up with any of these people and cheated on me physically and then laid in bed with me at night after that? Has he exposed me to any STDs? How much of it was a lie? Was any of it true? Am I just a cover-up story? Is this why our intimacy life sucks? I mean, I know I'm pregnant, so it wouldn't be the best right now. But even before that, it was lacking. My mind is racing and I don't even know where to begin straightening my thoughts. He claims that he loves me and that he's not curious anymore, so he had stopped. But I have evidence of conversations as recent as this past December. This was ongoing throughout the time span that we conceived this child, my birthday, and Christmas, all while smiling in my face and acting like we are a happy family. How can he do something like this if he actually loved me? He says that he's remorseful and has apologized to me, and says that he won't do anything like this ever again and that he will even go to therapy. But the problem is that now the trust is broken and I don't believe anything that's coming out of his mouth, and I'm completely disgusted by him. I feel so stupid, dirty, and exposed. I thought we were happy this whole time. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm too pregnant for this, and I need some unbiased opinions on my situation so that I know that I am not hastily making decisions because I am pregnant and emotional. Edit. He claims that he has never physically cheated on me or met up with anyone, and that all of this was only online. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I am so sorry he did this to you and your family. The first step is for you to reach out to a counselor. A counselor can help you sort through what is going on. To be honest, this is likely the end of the marriage. Unfortunately, this is kind of common. A man wants a wife and family for the sake of appearances, but prefers intimacy with men, sometimes with multiple men. Right now, he will say and do anything to keep you from leaving, but this will keep happening. After a counselor, you will probably need to speak with an attorney about your options. Comment 2. Whatever his definition, gay, curious, bi, none of that matters. He cheated. And if he didn't meet them in person, then it's emotional cheating. He broke your marriage vows and your trust. Get yourself tested. Create a safe space for yourself. I'd kick him to the couch until he gets out. It will be difficult for you to leave in this situation and with a child. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a wild 3 days since then, and I've got a lot to share. After I found out about my partner's online activities, I was a wreck. I couldn't sleep, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw those chats and pictures. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But I had to keep it together for our child and the baby on the way. I remembered how, when we first met, he was always the life of the party, charming everyone around him. That charm was what drew me to him. But now, it felt like a mask that had finally slipped off to reveal someone I didn't recognize. The next day, I decided to confront him again. I needed answers. He was calmer this time, maybe because he knew he couldn't deny it anymore. He swore up and down that he hadn't met up with anyone, that it was all just fantasy. But how could I trust him? The man who wants to surprise me with a weekend getaway for our anniversary was now a stranger. I demanded to see his phone again, to see if there was anything new. He handed it over without a fight, which surprised me, but there was nothing there. He had wiped everything clean. It was like he was trying to erase his mistakes, but the damage was done. I couldn't stop thinking about the past few months, how he'd been so distant. It all made sense now. The late nights working, the sudden interest in privacy, the way he'd been avoiding intimacy with me. It was like a puzzle, and I finally had all the pieces. That night, I couldn't stand to be near him, so I slept in the guest room. I lay there thinking about our first child, how we'd promised to always be a team for them. And now, here I was, feeling more alone than ever. The next day, I went to my ultrasound appointment alone. I sat there watching the screen, seeing our baby, and I couldn't hold back the tears. The nurse was kind, asking if I was okay. But what could I say? That my partner was sexting other men while I was carrying our child. I just nodded and wiped my tears away. When I got home, he tried to talk to me, to explain. He said he'd been feeling lost, that he didn't know who he was anymore. He talked about the pressure of being a provider, of being a good father and partner. He said he'd started chatting out of curiosity, but it had spiraled out of control. He begged for forgiveness, for a chance to make things right. I listened, but it was like there was a wall between us. I couldn't forget the betrayal, the lies, and yet I couldn't ignore the years we'd spent together, all the good times. It was like I was living two different lives, one filled with love and the other with betrayal. We decided to try counseling for the sake of our family. It was awkward at first, sitting there with a stranger, talking about our most intimate issues. But it helped to have someone neutral, someone who could guide us through the mess. It's been 3 days of counseling now, and it's been hard. We've dug up things from our past that I didn't even know were affecting us. Like how he'd always felt overshadowed by his older brother, always trying to prove himself, or how I'd put my own dreams on hold to support his career. We've had some intense moments, like when he finally broke down and admitted that he was scared of being a dad again, that he didn't know if he could handle it, or when I confessed that I'd been feeling neglected. that I miss the man I fell in love with. It's been a journey of emotions, but we're trying. He's promised to be more open, to share his fears and doubts with me, instead of hiding behind a screen. And I've promised to be more understanding, to remember that he's human and that he makes mistakes. But it's not easy. Every time he gets a message, I feel that twinge of doubt, wondering if he's slipping back into old habits. And I can tell he's walking on eggshells around me, afraid of doing something wrong. We're taking it one day at a time, trying to rebuild the trust that was shattered. It's not perfect, and I don't know if it ever will be. But for now, we're holding on, for our children, and for the love that's still there, buried under all the pain. My best friend judges my life choices. But when her cop husband gets suspended for a scandal, I find out my own BF's involved and everything I knew about love was a lie. My long-term friend has become very annoying since she became a mom. Background info. My friend and I have been friends since we were 13 years old. Now we are 27. She got married and had her first child at 24, second child at 26, and has decided to be a stay-at-home mom. Her husband has newly become a cop. I have been a nurse for 5 years, I am childless, and in a long-term relationship for 7 years. My friend drives me absolutely nuts with her constant sob story about being a stay-at-home mom. Yesterday evening, we went to the gym together, and when leaving, she asked if I worked tomorrow, and I said no. She replied, "Oh, well, I do. I work every day." I am so freaking tired of her implying that it must be nice for me to only work 3 to 4 days a week, even though that is a full-time job as a nurse. If I have a day off where I exercise and do my hobbies, it is also looked down upon. I feel that she is always comparing our situations when they are not comparable. I can see how exhausting it would be to spend almost 24/7 with 2 toddlers, and I try to empathize with that. However, that is exactly why I do not want a kid right now. My life is not the way that it is by accident. I have chosen to create this chapter in my life that is all about me and exploring my free time and my career. She is constantly listing off how she is a chef, a nurse, a driver, a maid, and a mom. And sometimes I just want to say, "Oh, really, you are a nurse? Do you want to clock in for my 12-hour shift and tell me that it is not as tiring as what you do? That it is not as overstimulating as staying home with toddlers? Where did you earn your bachelor's degree?" Also, if we are going to call doing basic stuff to maintain our houses and feed ourselves a job, then I am also a maid and a chef. I personally do not look down on stay-at-home moms. My older sister has chosen that lifestyle, and I think it has worked out wonderfully for her and her family. My problem is that my friend is comparing our lives and constantly throwing a pity party while putting me down. I am just done feeling like I cannot talk about being tired or overstimulated or burnt out because I am not a mom. Or I cannot talk about positive things like trying a new workout or going on a vacation because she is a mom, so she does not have time for anything. Somehow I am not a real adult with real responsibilities because I have chosen not to have a child yet. Am I being too sensitive, or am I interpreting this wrong? Am I lacking sympathy for her situation? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. When she puts you down, just simply say, "I understand being a stay-at-home mom is difficult and I want to be a support for you, but if you continue to put down how I've chosen to live my life, I'm going to have to step back from the relationship." It's totally possible for her to complain about her life without putting you down. She puts you down because she is jealous. Reminding her that this is the life she chose might help. It might not. I've had this happen with some friends, and it's not easy. I'm direct to protect myself, though. I've been a people pleaser, and I do my best to not put my own self and mental health on the back burner for other people. If she is embarrassed, that's on her. She is the one who is putting you down, not the other way around. Edit, spelling error, comment 2. A situation like this, if you truly value the friendship, probably requires a light touch. At least initially. When it comes up again, you could try using a bit of humor like, "Okay, name, well, it's not a contest," in a light joking tone, and some variations on that. Basically, to both highlight this unhealthy pattern of behavior without making a big deal out of it or trigger a defensive response, but hopefully a little bit more self-awareness on her part. Just be very careful not to play into the comparison framing by either downplaying her struggle or emphasizing your own. If that doesn't help after a while, then you might need to be a bit more direct about it, as other commenters have mentioned. Now for the update. So, it's been 2 weeks since I last vented about my friend, the stay-at-home mom, and boy, do I have an update for you all. Remember how she was always comparing our lives and making me feel like I couldn't share anything about my own life without being judged? Well, things have escalated and not in the way I expected. First off, let me give you a bit of history. We've been friends for 14 years and we've been through a lot together. High school drama, college applications, first loves, you name it. We were each other's rocks, but ever since she had kids and I started my nursing career, it's like we're on different planets. I've always supported her choice to be a stay-at-home mom, just like she was there for me when I decided to become a nurse. But lately, it's been tough. Now back to the present. After my last post, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with her. I thought maybe if I explained how her comments were making me feel, we could get back on track. So I invited her over for coffee, hoping we could clear the air. But when she walked in, I could tell something was off. She seemed distracted and kept checking her phone. Halfway through our conversation, which was going nowhere, her phone buzzed, and she glanced at it and her face went white. She excused herself and stepped outside to take the call. I couldn't help but overhear bits and pieces of the conversation. It was her husband, the cop, and they were having a heated argument. When she came back in, she was in tears. Turns out, her husband had been suspended from the force. He'd been caught in a compromising situation with his partner. And not the kind of partner you patrol the streets with, if you catch my drift. My friend was devastated. She confessed that their marriage had been rocky since the second baby, and she'd thrown herself into motherhood to cope with their issues. I was shocked. Here I was, upset about her judging my life, and she was dealing with a crumbling marriage. I felt like a terrible friend for not seeing the signs. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking, and she apologized for being so harsh on me. She admitted that she envied my freedom and career, and it was easier to criticize than to confront her own unhappiness. But wait, there's more. Remember how I said I've been in a long-term relationship for 7 years? Well, my boyfriend had been acting strange lately, too. He was working late a lot and seemed distant. After my friend left, I had a gut feeling I needed to check on him. I drove to his office, and guess what? His car wasn't there. I called him, and he said he was still at work. That's when I knew something was up. I did a little digging and found out he'd been spending time at a local hotel, the same hotel where my friend's husband had been caught. It didn't take long to put two and two together. My boyfriend and her husband were the ones involved in the scandal. I was floored. My own relationship was a lie, and it was intertwined with my friend's marital issues. My new BF promises to love my body, but mocks me in front of friends. So I dump him and feel free while my friends cheer me on and I learn I deserve better. So for starters, my boyfriend is the best boyfriend. In other words, to keep it short, he is a walking green forest. For the backstory, I have had 2 failed relationships before, and I have built many insecurities from the past too. I have thick thighs, a curvy body with a small waist and big hips, a bit of facial hair, and not wavy curly hair. I have never really been confident in myself. While being in the past 2 relationships, both my exes would always taunt me and tell me to get rid of my thick thighs, like they had a certain beauty standard, where there should absolutely be no fat in my body. Because of them, I developed severe eating disorders and lost a lot of weight in a short span of time. I was never happy when I saw myself in the mirror looking all scrawny, but I wanted them to be happy. I was rushed to the hospital while dating my second ex because of severe malnutrition. And that's when I realized that I was never loved in these relationships, and they all just used me. I am fully recovered and healthy right now. My boyfriend and I met in college. Long story short, it's already been 4 months of us together. We shared everything about each other, including our insecurities and such. He even knows everything about my 2 failed relationships. I didn't hide that from him. He promised to never, and I mean never, bring up my insecurities and to love me the way I am. He promised this when we started dating. Everything was going great until today. At lunch, I wore a skin-tight dress, so some of my cellulite was visible. All the people in our friend group are really nice, so everyone was complimenting me. Usually I tie my hair, but today I let it down, and my girlfriend was literally hyping me up. As I was sitting down, my boyfriend and his friends came inside, and the first thing he says in front of everyone was, "Baby, you don't look good with your wavy hair let down. Tie it with a clip or some rubber band." He didn't say it that loud, but loud enough for some of our friends to hear it. I went red, but I and others just laughed it off, and we continued. After we were done eating, my girlfriend and I got up to wash our hands, and that's when he said in front of everyone, "Baby, why did you eat so much? You wore a tight dress, and now your stomach is bulging out and it's as big as your leg." He was legit laughing like it was a big joke. I just excused myself, and now here I am in the restaurant restroom, crying my eyes out. I was feeling so pretty today with my makeup all done well, and it's all ruined. All my self-esteem has been crushed down to the bottom. What do I do? Should I consider leaving him or talk to him about it? I am very confused and upset right now, as I am writing this with teary eyes. Sorry for spelling mistakes. Edit. I have read all the comments, and I am very grateful for the advice. I did at first talk to him, and told him how I felt while he said he was joking, and he drank a few vodka shots, and it just slipped out. He didn't even apologize. I am too tired to deal with this shoot, and I deserve better. I need to break up with him, and that's happening tomorrow. Edit 2. Finally mustered up the courage today and called it off face to face. I am surprised that I feel so happy instead of being sad. Even though I had my first kiss with him, yes, I didn't get my first kisses from my previous ones, and I feel so free somehow, like I don't have to worry about him and his thoughts. I'm going to treat myself to some ice cream and ramen, as I haven't had them in months. Thank you, Redditors, for helping me open my eyes and see the actual reality. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He made multiple comments to intentionally try to put you down in front of other people. Can you imagine thinking it was ever appropriate to say those things to another human? Never mind while laughing. Don't waste any more time on this complete bully. Block him and move on. You deserve so much better, and these comments will continue. Also, I'm sure you look absolutely amazing today. Comment 2. Okay, aside from dumping this loser, hun, I think you need a break from relationships. You seem to be attracting the same type of guy. I think you need time to heal and deal with your insecurities. Love yourself. Surround yourself with better people. People like your girlfriends who hype you up and not try to tear you down. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 2 weeks since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you. Remember how I thought my boyfriend was the best? Well, turns out I was wrong, so wrong. After I broke up with him, I felt like I was on top of the world. I was eating my favorite foods and just living my best life. But then, things took a turn. My ex started texting me, saying he missed me and that he was sorry. He even showed up at my favorite coffee shop with flowers. I was shocked. I mean, this was the guy who made fun of my hair and my body in front of everyone. But there he was, looking all sad and saying he wanted me back. I didn't know what to do. Part of me remembered the good times we had, like when we studied together for finals, and he brought me my favorite snacks. But then I'd remember the hurtful comments, and how he never really apologized. It was like my mind was playing tug of war. Then, one day, I saw him at a party. He was there with his friends, the same ones who were there when he made those comments about me. I tried to avoid him, but he came over and tried to talk to me. He said he was drunk that day and didn't mean what he said. But then, one of his friends made a joke about my weight, and my ex laughed, right there in front of me. It was like a punch to the gut. I realized then that he hadn't changed at all. I walked away from him and his friends, feeling so embarrassed and hurt. I couldn't believe I was even considering giving him another chance. It was clear that he and his friends were all the same, and I didn't need that kind of negativity in my life. But it wasn't all bad news. My best friend, the one who hyped me up when I was feeling pretty, she's been amazing. She's been there for me through all of this, reminding me that I'm worth so much more than what my ex thinks of me. She's been my rock. And then there's this guy in my biology class. We've been talking a lot lately, and he's really sweet. He compliments me and makes me laugh. It's nice to have someone treat me with respect. I'm not ready to jump into another relationship, but it's good to know that there are nice guys out there. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.